Recording in progress. don't want to be late for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic from which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So you know I do that, right?
No, I know. I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. We were just literally talking about a former planning commissioner who used to come.
Oh, I didn't
tardy.
know because of that. Oh, okay. I thought you, just in terms of like attendance, in terms of when the attendance was called.
It's more like so they can count the count. So if you count, so like it was 6-0 for the minutes, and then the next
Was 7-0, gotcha.
would be 7-0.
Got it.
All right, I'd like to call the City of Planning Commission for November 16th, 2022 to order. No, I don't have to read all this, I'll just read the first paragraph. This is a regular meeting of the City of Milton Planning Commission. This is a 7-member commission appointed by the City of Milton Mayor and City Council, created for the purpose of holding public hearings and making recommendations on rezoning, use permits, concurrent variance applications, comprehensive land use plan, and plan map and other related plans and amendments on the zoning ordinance. Looks like we have a relatively light.
Yeah, so you don't need to do the
I know,
zoning items.
we'll just jump into that. If we look at the second on the agenda, consideration of the action minutes of October 26th, 2022.
Move to approve as submitted.
I'd second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was a Fred and Ron.
Oh, was Fred and Ron?
Yeah, Fred motion, or, no, you
No, it was
motion.
Judy.
The voices are so similar, I'm sorry. As I ducked to. Okay. And then,
Comprehensive Plan 2040.
okay, Robin, do we have a public comment we want to get to, or is that part
This is
of?
for the second item.
Okay.
B, so branding study, right?
Great, so
Yes,
let's,
that's for branding study.
Correct. Do you want to talk after she presents or before? Okay.
Okay. Well, good evening, Commissioners.
Hey,
I'm
Jackie.
here again to provide you with the monthly status update of our comp projects. I provided you a copy of the updated list of our executed projects and then the completed projects. Also, Miss Anita Jupin is joining us tonight to present information on projects she's been working on, and one would be the placemaking and branding, and then, of course, the economic development initiatives.
great.
Anita is our economic engagement manager, and this is her first time to speak with Planning Commission.
So we've got some breaking in to do tonight.
And
I know.
yeah, so it'd be nice for her. All right, again, we're still projecting to complete most of our projects on time. There may be a slight delays on the start date of some of the projects, but nothing significant that will affect the overall project timeline. To date, we have 38 active projects, 10 completed projects, and 51 unexecuted projects. Next slide. Of course, good news, if you know, on November 4th, or was it 7th? I think 7th, staff presented the lot width text amendment to council for a final vote. The council approved the text amendment to update AG1 zoning district to increase the lot width requirement from 100 feet to 150 feet. Of course, many thanks to planner Michael Cardamon for leading this project and getting it to the finish line.
Great.
Yep. All right, just a quick update on land use projects that are in progress. First one is the project Flaglets. It was introduced at the council work session last Monday. Council recommends that we gather more public input from Milton landowners before moving forward. Council's biggest concern was the property rights of the landowners. So staff will do some work on this, and we will present it back again to council and to share new information and any recommendation.
Jackie, do you have any view as to how you go about collecting that input?
We will probably plan to do maybe public engagement. Possibly, we haven't discussed it yet, Maybe Bob can speak, maybe a survey or a stakeholder. Yes, something like that. Yep.
Thank you.
So the next one is, we are now ready for the public engagement phase for our urban growth boundary project. If you recall, this project has been discussed in several public meetings. It was first presented in the June 22 Planning Commission, and then I think September 28th, and then also in the council meeting and work session in July and in September. So we will have the public kickoff meeting, which is on the 30th of November. So the next step after that, we will work with stakeholders to develop the UGB map, and we'll take to council for adoption. Of course, in between, there will be a lot of public engagement. We will have presentation here in Planning Commission and with council as well.
Great.
So the next one is UDC. We had a public kickoff meeting. It took place last week here in the council chambers. The public comment portal is now accessible through the city's website. This interactive tool, again, allows citizens to review the UDC draft. They can leave comments and questions within the document, and staff can easily review them and respond to their comments and suggestions. We will continue to post reminders on social media and on our website, and to encourage citizens to participate in the review process. The portal is open until December 9th. After that, all feedback will be compiled, submitted to Caleb, and then incorporated into the new draft again. And then the next step will be then the text amendment process, and we'll start with the CZIM, and that's coming up after Thanksgiving. That's November 29th. And of course, in that schedule, we have the 2 Planning Commission meetings, the council meetings, and then we're expected to adopt the UDC on March 6th if everything goes well.
Jackie, what are we expected to be doing in those 2 Planning Commission meetings?
So one thing is, I think we do another review of the document, and
I mean, I think
The
the review is,
recommendation.
unless there's some items that are outstanding notes, we will have Caleb at the meeting. So if
Yes.
there's more specific questions for him, I don't expect it to be a whole new review of it. It's just giving opportunity for you to see what has resulted from the previous, comments.
You see, I don't think we've ever reviewed it. Individuals have reviewed sections of it, but my sections have not had the benefit of either Judy's or Fred's input, and 7 heads are better than 1, right? In this case. And I really think we need to turn the pages in this thing. I just don't see, again, I said this before, I don't see why we're putting the pedal to the metal here. I think we need to be a deliberative body and review this document.
I mean, I could encourage you to review it right now on, as it sits on the Conveo, because I think that that's another way. If tonight you want to, maybe start cross-assigning some items, we can do that, and you can start, it's all online, and you can punch in your comments, which is a great way for us to track it.
Okay. I think we need something a little more organized than just go to a website and punch in comments. I think we need to do it in this meeting, in this forum. I think we need to take time, either here or in special sessions, to turn the pages. I know there are 600 pages, but who else is going to read this? City Council?
I mean, staff's been reading it and going over it, as well as you all individually on your different chapters. And I'm just saying, if you want to switch out, we can talk about, okay, now Judy can review your parts, you can review her parts.
Right, 'cause I do think the planning commission wants to, put forward the best product possible, and if we could review it, nobody's looking forward to the page turn. I mean, me, probably most of anybody's not looking forward to that, but Yeah, I do think that might be helpful in getting a good product out there. What do you guys think?
Is there something though that says, because we should be able to do it in parallel with the CZIM review, because the document is out there, and maybe just relook at the 13 chapters and kind of swap it up so we are looking at different sections. 'Cause I've reviewed my sections now 3 times. I'm like, yeah, at this point, I'm not going to see anything. But maybe it might be good to look at another section and say, oh, wait a second, that conflicts with something that was in my section.
I think we should all be looking at all the different sections.
Or as many as we're able to, yeah.
When the
Yeah,
public comment is done on this
Yeah,
application.
you can actually see it, I think.
So,
Ms.
Yeah,
Pond has done, I
that's
think
good.
she's
How many
our
visits have
sole
we had to
winner for
this?
the most comments and, suggestions. So it's public, so you can actually see what other people have been saying. But I mean, or we can provide you with your own, the same way that we did before, either
So-
electronically, and if you don't want to do it on that
So can you
forum.
upload, like, for instance, if we go through sections, let's just say we were to somehow internally even swap out sections and we mark them up, we can upload that into this platform
Well, the
versus just
platform
typing
is,
in comments, or we would have to or we could upload a Word document. I know some people did it Word. I kind of marked up stuff and scanned it over to you.
well, yeah. I mean, the good thing about the Conveo is I don't think you have to you could all look at it and then independently make comments, and then it tracks everything. So,
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm
Why
going to
can't
show
we-
you the
Why can't we
portal.
just simply put a schedule together? On a given date, we look at a given article of the UDC. When we finish that, we go to the next one and circulate all the one that we're going to be focusing on to all the members of Planning Commission, and we can give our comments. I don't sense any organization of this review.
well, I mean, I believe that each member has been assigned different articles, and in the background, staff has been reviewing it as well. All the articles, 1 through 13.
This body has not reviewed this in a comprehensive fashion. You're doing your work, that's fine. Caleb's, I'm sure, doing something, that's fine. But this body needs to review this thing. This body needs to turn the pages. And I think we should schedule this out. We do Article 1 and Article 2 and just work our way through here. It'll take time for us to do this. But I think we owe it to the citizens of this city for us to review this thing. All of us need to review each of these articles.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for the planning commission to put their stamp on this, I think as a group, we need to review it and go through it. Can we schedule something like that?
I mean, we'll just have to add meetings.
Could we add it? Could we add it as a line? I mean, could we add it as an agenda item on the next forthcoming meetings? So
Well, I
let's
mean,
just-
we have it on the next 2 meetings that are scheduled. I'm just really,
What's the cause? Do we have a deadline for some reason?
I mean, the deadline, I mean,
Who said that this thing had to be done? By when?
this is the short-term work program in
Term
part.
work program.
CPAC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we can elongate
I
it.
mean,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
we
fine.
can.
We can do
No,
that.
no, I'm not being.
No, it's CPAC. We have a schedule, just like how Jackie gets up and gives you all the status of all the different projects, and this is what we projected for it. And that, but if that's the wishes of the commission, then we'll just add,
No, so, I mean, my suggestion, again, taking into consideration, like if we were to break it out over the next forthcoming meetings and say, hey, agenda item, we're going to review Articles 1 through 4, next Planning Commission meeting. Agenda item for the following one, Articles 5 through 8, whatever. However, we were to break it out and we just focus on those few articles each time and get through them. And that way, everybody
and
gets a
there's
chance
many
to review.
articles you're going to get through pretty quickly, I will say. I mean, the first 2 to 3, and then even the zoning districts are pretty repetitive and they're very similar. You're going to get through the AG1 and the residential. It's just once you start getting, into the special districts like the form-based code, and then you get into the use permits, the use section, which is Article 8, and then then we have like the stormwater and development regs in 9 and 10. And so I think some of them we're going to get through. We can put them together, bundle them, many of them together, and make some good progress. And then there's other chapters that are articles that are going to be very beefy. You may barely get through one article, depending on.
I think we take your input on that, or your
Yeah, however
leadership
you
on
want to
that,
break
saying,
it up.
yeah, here's how we should break it up so that it isn't just, here's a 2-hour block of time for the planning commissioner.
I
Yeah,
mean, the alternative would be is like, okay, this week everybody read Articles 1 and 2. Next week everybody's read Article 3. Next week everybody read 4 and 5. Plow through them that way. But I mean, if you look at it, there's 13 articles and there's about 13 weeks to February.
Yeah, but the problem though is that they're so uneven. So Article 1 is like 3 pages. Article 2 is like 4 pages. And then you have something like the use, which is very heavy.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, I think we could set up like a 2-hour, what do you think we could cover in 2 hours? One of it might be just one article. It might be, 1, 3, and 5, and 7 for the next meeting, and just kind of break it out that way. And, let us know ahead of time so we can do some reading. And
Does it have to be in a meeting?
No, it doesn't.
well,
We can
if
have a
you have a
special
quorum,
meeting.
we have to have a meeting. I mean, we can call other special called meetings
But I mean,
or work sessions.
I thought what you were starting originally to propose is we individually could go into Conveo.
That's what I was
and
saying, but
read
I
and
feel like
comment.
that wasn't really the desire of the remainder of the.
I think we all benefit from conversation around this table.
I think we benefit a couple different ways. I think we benefit from different points of view, but also I think we benefit from individually gaining a better understanding of that if we're all discussing it. So, maybe could we do that? Could we set up what you would assume would be a 2-hour, a number of articles to discuss in 2 hours? Like I said, some of it might be 1, some of it might be 3 or 4. Just walk through it that way.
Yeah, and I think we should all use our judgment to the extent we're doing it in one of these meetings. We don't want to be here until midnight when we're all brain dead. So we need to carve this up thoughtfully so that we can do it within a reasonable period of time. Whatever you think is appropriate for us for a given meeting.
Looking at for 3 hours, I would say 2 is a little small to get everybody together to do it. I think 3.5 hours with a little bit of a break is a good amount of time to be more efficient with the time, if that's what is. We'll meet whenever you guys want to meet, and I just don't want to meet for 2 hours and then that's it. I want to be able to get a good amount of work done in a session.
Yeah, and with enough warning so we can pre-read. So we aren't really just
Right.
reading in the thing. We're kind of like, I don't understand this
So,
point.
I mean, I almost would propose that we would, I have enough time. Well, we could do a work session the night of the CZIM. We could even start at 6, that starts at 7. I want to be able to use if you all are available. If you're not, that's fine. I'm just saying many times the CZIM, we don't get a lot of input. And I know we've been doing a lot of public outreach, but thus far we haven't had a huge, group of people just swarming to look at it. So
If we did break into 3-hour blocks, how many 3-hour blocks do you think it would take us to get through that?
I would really have to look at it. I can't tell you this second. I could get back to you next week with that. I'm off. the
Section
next
8 would
couple
take
weeks.
3 hours on its own.
Okay.
Because it took me probably 6 hours to read it.
Lot.
Because there was a lot of back and, even though we organized it, there was still back and forth and comparing. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, are we set, can we modify this schedule right now in terms of like when it's going to go to council? And
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
do that.
Okay.
so, are we even okay with adding it in as an agenda item to the planning commission meetings?
if they're reasonable bites that we can chew on.
So
Least
right
that-
now, like
that's
for
my view.
instance, in December, right now, we may have a preliminary plat coming in. I don't know if it's going to make it or not. And then we have
So,
this.
yeah, transportation
Transportation may
presentation
come.
initiatives, yeah.
But I still think we could get 2.5 hours, but next week I'm off the next couple days, but before Thanksgiving, I can try to get you a schedule of what I could estimate it would, in about 3-hour increments, how many meetings it would take.
Okay, yeah, that, I think it'd be helpful, and also if you
And
just,
then I can divide it, Jackie and I'll kind of come up with a way to, divide it up that I think is doable.
yeah, I think we'd even use your judgment to then force rank them. Let's get the most important ones first. And, so we're still fresh and bought into the process, and then, let's do that. Let's do those. Let's do block it, break into 3-hour groups and then force rank the 3-hour groups, and we'll just tackle it that way. It's brute force, I think, is the only way we can do this.
I mean, and you obviously know what's coming up, like you said, if there's a preliminary plat, but if there's
Yeah, I mean,
if
I don't
it's
see.
lighter from a
yeah.
scheduling standpoint from the actual planning commission meeting itself, then again, my suggestion is to somehow incorporate it into that meeting. I mean, again, if we need to do work sessions, we can, but if there's a flexibility on the timeline,
Right. I mean, at least the
Then
immediate future, I don't see anything.
we don't have to like,
in December or
squeeze in
January,
all
other
these
than
work
preliminary
sessions.
plats and people presenting items. I do have some potential use permits coming in, but they're not in yet. So and that's still a good month and a half away, even once they submit it. So I don't see anything coming until at least February of any, like a use permit or anything like that. Or text
I
amendment.
think too, if once you put a schedule out, that, like Judy said, we could look at it online. Read it. We have time, and then put some question marks that we may have. And then when we start into that,
I'd probably speed things up. We
No,
don't.
that's gonna be the
say,
most
hey,
efficient way.
I've got a problem with this and this and this. Other than that.
Yeah, that's gonna be the most efficient way. We can't read it during here.
Right.
You gotta read it beforehand, come in prepared like we did.
Exactly.
But the point would be that all of us get a chance to kind of chime in,
On that
but
particular.
everybody's kind of pre-read.
And I mean, you all know that we don't want to do big changes, but I understand the point of wanting to look at it as a whole. So, I mean, I'm not even sure that looking ahead at it is, other than out of your own curiosity to be prepared, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time, let's just say if we did 3 or 4 articles in the beginning, I wouldn't laboriously look at it. You can read it and be familiar. Okay, what are these 4 articles about? But like what Commissioner Gilbert was saying, having the opportunity to kind of review it together. So
You could, that'd be great.
before Thanksgiving, I'll get you a schedule of what I think would be good divisions of the articles and increments. So
So just like, can we tell how many people have actually hit the website? How many people? have looked?
yeah, we know. I think Jackie, you can.
I can look it up,
Yeah, I don't need to know right now. I think that'd be.
There's probably about maybe 18, 20 comments so
Okay.
far.
All
So,
from one person or from
a
multiple?
mix. Probably 1, 2 person. Yeah,
What we expected, but
Exactly.
yeah,
very fortunate to have those
Thank
1 or
you
2
that-
people.
Thank you to them.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
very fortunate.
wherever they are.
Yeah, wherever she is.
So right now I have transportation initiatives presentation for next month, but I have to confirm that with Sarah leaders. And then just a quick reminder, we have 2 plans that are going to council meeting just to sort of like introduction of this projects. We've engaged consultants to assist us with developing a plan. Details about this project will be presented on this meeting. Let me see. I think that's all I have. And of course, our next planning commission will be December 21st. And that's when we're going to discuss the Unified Development Code as part of the tax amendment
Is
process.
there anything else for that evening?
But she said,
Okay, that's what I was fishing for. Okay, and that's confirmed then?
I believe so.
Okay, great.
Okay, any questions before I turn over to Anita?
No, and again, hopefully you're getting the impression, or, we're conveying that the planning commission wants to help. And if there's other things as you're going through this that you think we could add value to,
Okay,
please include us.
yeah, I will. Thank you.
Now comes the fun part.
Oh, she wanted to wait till afterwards, so she could hear, yeah.
Good evening. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Anita Jupin. Thank you, Jackie, for my introduction. I have a lot of exciting updates to share with you all from economic development. I'll start with some information about our placemaking and branding project that we have underway. Next, I'll share some data from Milton's economic development landscape. I'll highlight some of the new businesses that have recently opened in Milton, which speaks to our growth in commercial development. I'll give you a quick update on our Fry's property and talk about how we're using different strategies and tools to approach economic development going forward. I'll share the success of Crabapple Fest, which is Milton's signature event, as well as some professional development that I have underway. And lastly, I'll provide an overview of where we are in the Highway 9 area study in partnership with the City of Alpharetta and the North Fulton CID.
Great, and welcome. All kidding aside, welcome.
Yeah. We're making really great strides in our placemaking study. As you know, the branding study is the bedrock for a multitude of other projects that we have outlined in the comprehensive and strategic plans. So we're looking forward to moving towards implementation. We'll work very closely with our partners, our stakeholders, and the community to deliver a product that keeps Milton, Milton. Here you'll see the steps we've taken thus far in our placemaking and branding project. We had a great response from the RFP we put out. Fortunately, we were able to identify a clear winner based on the scope that we outlined. We have notified our intent to award contract, and this will be on our consent agenda on November 21st. We're really excited to begin partnering with this agency, and we're confident that we will ultimately deliver and implement a brand that captures the essence of Milton's distinct character areas. But beyond just sharing the dates and the steps we've taken so far, I just want to dig into a little bit about the why behind this project. What are the visions and the goals of this project, and why does it matter? We really want to achieve a brand that stands apart in a way that Milton already does. In 15 years, Milton has emerged as a city with unique character areas that should all be celebrated in their own special ways, much like children. As a result of this placemaking and branding study, both transportation and parks will experience benefits from things like signage, consistency, and overall a fresh approach. Milton consistently receives top scores on survey results when it comes to quality of life, safety, strong community pride. We already have something very unique here, and through this placemaking and branding effort, we will identify the best ways to showcase it. So here are next steps. What do our next steps look like? Next month, we will be meeting with our consultant that we've selected to discuss the project in greater detail. Then we will outline the specific approach that we will take on our path to implementation. We'll outline specific deliverables and develop a timeline at that time. That will consist of information gathering, public engagement opportunities, eventually leading to the development and presentation of brand concepts for final approval. Do you have any questions before I move on? Okay.
No?
Next, I'd like to provide an overall look at the economic development landscape and share some recent figures produced by the North Fulton CID and the Atlanta Regional Commission. Understanding the demographic of this region is a critical component in attracting development that fits the needs of the community. The North Fulton submarket has experienced significant growth and investment over the last 5 years. We've seen an uptick in the trend towards walkability, and that growing population creates an increase in housing demand, and employers are seeking more pedestrian-oriented locations with mixtures of uses. Milton specifically has experienced pretty significant growth from the 2010 to the 2020 census, and that number is expected to continue to rise, which will create an increase in the housing demand in the city and in the region. Just a quick snapshot of the median income. Milton remains the highest in the region, with the median income ranging from $102,000 to $236,000 per household. Milton has a highly educated population which greatly contributes to our workforce pipeline. Here you'll see 64 to 90% of the population 25 and older hold a bachelor's degree or higher education. And it's these types of ancillary components that really matter when it comes to site selection for big projects. Is there a viable workforce? Are there available amenities and housing to support these jobs? And what's the overall quality of life here? And this is where Milton really shines. Our public and private schools are top rated. Milton consistently ranks excellent on our National Community Survey and receives accolades for its priority on safety and proactive public safety outreach in the community. Milton continues to set the bar high on housing, offering large lot incentives. In October, we partnered with Jenny Doyle and her team to co-host the 3000 Forum held here at City Hall. At that forum, we heard from experts in the field about recent trends in housing and home values. And while the market is becoming steadier, we continue to see the home values in Milton significantly higher than our neighbors in the region. Here, just switching gears, I just want to highlight a number of the businesses that have recently opened alone. This just shows the energy and the momentum that we have here. In just the last quarter, we have formally welcomed 11 new businesses for a total of 25 already this year. And we have a few more planned for the next couple of weeks. We've had really great support from mayor and council at each and every one of these grand openings, and every calendar invite that I place, they always come, which really sends a powerful message to our business community that we're happy to have them here and that we will do whatever we can to nurture their success. So as you know, redevelopment along Highway 9 is a top priority. Community development has done a wonderful job of sweeping Highway 9 to ensure code compliance. The beautification efforts have made a huge impact. The construction in the area is difficult right now, but we're in regular communication with the businesses that are impacted to do all we can to support them during this transition. Just an update on the Fry property. We do get a lot of questions on that redevelopment. The Fry family and key partners did visit Milton City Hall back in the summer. Since that time, we have continued to remain in very close contact with them to assist them through this process however we can. So here we've highlighted two parcels, which is the Fry parcel and the Crescent properties just adjacent. Fry's recently submitted an offer to purchase the adjacent Crescent property. We were told that Crescent has countered, but at this time it's unclear if an agreement can be reached on acquiring this property. But we were told that if an agreement can't be reached to purchase the adjacent property, that they will shift directions and they will continue to work closely with us to present plans for future development that would be a positive addition to our landscape. So they do intend to proceed with submitting future plans to develop their 17 acres independently. GIS continues to be an extremely valuable tool in economic and community development. Emily and I have been partnering together on a host of really great ideas and ways we can strengthen our presence on the website and different tools that we can have for marketing to various companies. Here you'll see a graphic that I believe has previously been shared with you, highlighting the different parcels that could offer potential development in the city. We continue to work regularly with developers that come in to discuss zoning requirements, different projects that would provide a substantial economic benefit to Milton. Here we do welcome the expertise of the Planning Commission. We would love to sit down and talk with you all and set up some time to really capture your vision and develop an economic development strategy and a business plan on that going forward. We'd welcome the feedback of mayor and council as we continue to bring in these new projects and thoughtful developments to the city. Through the upcoming placemaking study that I mentioned and the Highway 9 Windward Parkway area update, we anticipate a lot of growth in this commercial district.
I had a question.
Yes.
In terms of strategies, I mean, are there other incentives and things like that that we are presenting or can offer?
That is something that we're actually looking into right now as a part of our Chapter 12, revamping how we do OC tax overall. So whether that be traditional incentives like tax abatements or reduction in permit fees or impact fees, we're looking at also non-traditional incentives as well. If they're, this is something we're taking to council on Monday, the 21st. If there are certain industries that we want to incentivize, there are certain things that we want to do. And I think that would be a part of this strategic plan to see which industries that we want to target specifically and different abatements we can do to attract them.
And then do we work with the state as well in terms of who the state may be trying to seek to get into the state and then,
Yes, absolutely. So I do want to drive home that we don't do this in a vacuum. We welcome all of your feedback. I would have a lot of respect and would rely heavily on you all and your input as well. But we do bring in our key partners wherever we can. We work really closely with the state as well as the county. The Director of Economic Development has come in a couple of times to present to council as well on the projects that we have. Mainly what we like to communicate is what type of development we're looking for. We constantly keep that line of communication open. So when there are prospects, they know which city is interested and can bring them to where they need to be, speed to market being key. So we're trying to make our incentives already in place so that we don't lose out on big projects due to speed to market. So we work closely with the state, with the county, our regional partners as well, because I think there is strength in knowing what our neighbors are doing as well. So we do bring them in as regularly as we can in these projects, as well as the utility companies. I don't want to leave them out. So.
Question I had, is Arnold Mill corridor not in this consideration point? Has it been left out or?
One of the projects in the comp plan is to create a small area plan for Arnold Mills. So that's totally separate
Okay,
from
so
this
it's,
one.
that's
Yes,
what I want to
that's
make,
it.
okay.
I can't provide an update to you all without talking about Crabapple Fest. The last week of September, I became a full-time meteorologist. I became really familiar with the hurricane models in America and in Europe, and I prayed a lot. And while it really does sadden me that many in Florida experienced some devastating loss, I really am thankful that we were blessed with a beautiful day. We were able to still have our signature event. Many, many months of planning and time and effort goes into this event. And I'm truly grateful that we were able to host the event this year. The 2022 event was our largest event yet from a vendor participation standpoint and an attendee standpoint. We had over 76 artisan vendors, 17 food vendors, as well as 4 on-site sponsors and 8 nonprofit participants. Here's some photos from the event. Just to highlight, this is really more than just a special event. This event truly embodies what we're all about in Milton. It lets us tell the story about what the community really values. Our small businesses can come together, showcase their offerings, connect with the residents, and all of this is supported by the infrastructure that the city has intentionally and thoughtfully put into place. I'm continuing to work towards my state certification
Can
in
we back
economic.
up? Just,
Yeah.
I'd like to comment as
Sure.
far as the Crabapple as Alpharetta Lions Club, we were absolutely, totally blown away with organization. Well done, the tents, everything set up. We did great business. It was a nonprofit. I asked the board, which I serve on also, but pass that along. That we were very excited about it and
Thank you.
really want to be there next year.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to hear that. It is, I mean, it was wonderful. I think we're very fortunate to have the participants that we did. It was really remarkable. I appreciate those kind words. I really do.
Yeah, I agree, because all the feedback I've heard on it has been extremely positive, so very good job.
Thank you. Working towards my state certification. So this ties into the state conversation. I actually just connected with partners across the state yesterday in Macon. This program is offered through UGA's Carl Vinson Institute. I actually did my undergrad at UGA as well, so it was kind of nice to have those colors back in my life. But again, what I really want to drive home is that we don't do this alone. We work really closely with our partners at the chamber, with our partners in county and state level, as well as regionally. And we will continue to reach out to other key players that we bring to the table, fire marshals, utility partners, and so forth. The investment, though, in that certification, it's really more for me. It's bringing it back to the community to create new jobs ultimately and enhance quality of life. And lastly, I just want to give a quick update on the Highway 9 Windward Parkway area study that I mentioned. And we are partnering with the city of Alpharetta and the North Fulton CID to update the LCI. Emily is the lead from the city on this initiative. And so she has brought in Sarah leaders, Bob and myself. We've been all working really closely together on this study to use it really to guide the direction of future projects in our department. Traditionally, the LCI has focused on transportation, but we have interjected a strong focus on land use and economic development into this update as well. That is all I have for you this evening, but if there's any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
I had a couple.
I had some questions too, but do we wait until after public comment for that? Or do we do our questions and then public comment?
Let's do questions and public comment.
Okay.
Maybe that'll answer some or read some other questions.
Mine was just probably be after that, just the one, the 4 eyes that you mentioned. Now, presently, or at least for the last 5 years, we've had 4 eyes on Parkway.
So there was a grand reopening for 4 Eyes. So there was shifting in management, a complete rebrand and refresh.
Okay.
So their
I've been going
entire
there.
they're
Go
still there.
every
Their
3 months.
entire
I was gonna
interior.
say, it's the same place.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
They've had a lot of shift in management, completely renovated the inside. It looks like a completely new store. So
Right.
they've wanted a reintroduction to the city.
The other is, and we can do it afterwards, is I'd like to see a breakdown on that, the population. Fact that it's 60 to 90 age group.
Are you talking about the percentage?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
of course. Sure.
Do you want to wait?
I'll wait for after public comment.
I had another question too. In terms of for economic development, is the city planning on having any other kind of input from the constituents as well, like through some sort of stakeholder committee or things like that? Is that going to be something that's going to be a part of the plan?
Are you, for this Highway 9 Windward
No,
Parkway
not just for
plan, or
Highway,
just a strategic
overall.
plan overall?
Yeah, just the strategic plan.
I'm
overall.
certainly open to that. I think that those strategies are certainly things we've discussed, how to bring in those key stakeholders. I think a big focus in this placemaking and branding study is to develop almost an economic development toolbox. And I think with that would be very helpful to have public input and engagement as we're developing those tools. So that's certainly a strategy that we've discussed, but I don't have specifics for it yet.
Okay. I mean, yeah, my suggestion would definitely be to have that. Obviously, I think it would be beneficial to somehow have an organized meetings of stakeholders, or if we can bring in other stakeholders. I'm not even saying necessarily just people directly living in the city or affiliated with the city, but outside who can also help us, and be a part of the stakeholders.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a great suggestion.
All right, thank you very much. Now, public comment?
Oh, yeah, the public comment from Mary Cronk.
My name is Mary Cronk, and I live at 600 Hickory Mill Lane in Milton. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Knowing that the branding discussion is really starting to pick up, I wanted to share a few thoughts. The first is through the branding process to make sure that people really know that they are in Milton. As you guys know, when people who don't live in Milton use GPS, what shows up? Alpharetta. When you go online to make a purchase, what shows up? Alpharetta. So we need to be able, even though we all know we are in Milton, we need everyone else to know when they're here, they're in Milton. Second thing that happened goes right along with this, and this just happened today. We received an email from a local restaurant group with an offer for one of our great restaurants that's just down the street from City Hall. When we clicked on the restaurant's name, the address was given as Crabapple, Georgia, right down here. So another example of the fact that we're not taking advantage of this as a city of Milton of all the great things that we have. So I think street toppers or whatever it is, something we'll need to do with that branding. And then to go along with this, the city's really done a great job over the past 16 years in establishing our brand, particularly in central and rural Milton. Controlling sewer creep to ensure minimum 1 acre lots, buying green space in parks, preserving our tree canopy, and the current emphasis on larger lots has given us a beautiful and unique city. But our brand is also clean, mostly rural view shed you see when you drive down our streets. Driving through other cities, you'll see signs that are cluttering the streets. You'll see them on utility poles, really ruins the view shed. And sometimes you'll also see alongside that homes in disrepair are covered with overgrowth. We can't let that happen here. Effective code enforcement is a necessary tool that helps preserve and protect the Milton brand. And as I've been seeing as I go through the UDC, we've got a great comprehensive code of ordinances, and we have numerous staff members tasked with code enforcement. So unlike other components or potential components of a branding program, we don't need to devote additional money here. We also know that traditionally the cities relied on citizens or businesses to report potential code violations. But since the city's grown so much since 2006, we need to ask ourselves, is it time for code enforcement to be more proactive, take a more proactive approach to code enforcement and in working with our businesses proactively? For these reasons, I suggest that the vital role of code enforcement be considered during these branding discussions. Because if we don't effectively enforce our code, we're going to lose what makes our city unique. And if that happens, we won't need signage, we won't need placemaking, because we won't have a brand to protect, highlight, or showcase. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I add just another point to that. If you lived outside of Georgia, you went telephone, everyone uses, I know, their ways on their own phones, but if you go to 411, ask for a business in Milton, Georgia, you will be sent Milton, Florida. And I've tried 3 times to get somebody do something, I mean, within AT&T and that, to no success. So that is one thing branding needs. The other, I back you up 1,000% on code enforcement.
I thought you paid her to say that.
Pardon?
I thought you paid her for that, didn't you? I know, I know it's something that's near and dear to you. It's, all of us. 'Cause again, that's the consistency we get. That's how we keep the consistency. That's how, it's kind of like HOAs, you love them and hate them, right? But they do maintain a standard and they do maintain property values and all that. And when it comes to a brand, I think the consistency has to help.
In fact, Fred, I was thinking about you earlier today. I was driving down Mayfield and I saw some golf carts parked there. And wasn't that a subject of a comment you made a couple months ago?
I will refer my comments to Robin, and she'd be happy to bring you up to date on that.
So we have spoken to the proprietor of the business, and so he will be removing them. And so yes, in the next couple days, that should be resolved.
Bravo.
Thank you, Robin.
I have a comment and then a question. My comment on the branding is what you see has so much to project about what our brand is. And really protecting and growing that brand and its consistency weighs a lot on us as the Planning Commission, a lot on community development and all aspects of it, especially on the DRB when they're hearing variances and someone wants to leave a older, not in great repair guest house in the front and grants a variance for that to do that, but does not insist on improving that curb appeal. I think I will appeal to the DRB if they're listening to step up and take a stronger look, as well as with staff, when people do come in for variances on what the street view looks like. In addition to the responsibility within the BZA and Public Works, because so much of our brand, it's not going to help to put up a sign that says, "Oh, you're in rural Milton," if it doesn't look very nice. So I think we really need to look at situations where people are in coming with an ask to look at what can we ask back to make sure that they're helping to project the Milton brand, whether that's in commercial areas or in rural areas.
Well, I do think it should be said that the current, staff has done if you go back to 2006, I don't think anybody could have predicted we'd be where we are now. I think they've done a great job and, should be commended for that. And now it's a great base to build on. I don't think anybody could have projected we'd be where we are right now.
Yeah.
But now I think we can, take it up a step or two, like you said, through enforcement, just through purposeful decisions that we make, that the design review board makes, all of those to keep. I think we can start being a little more stringent, if you will. So, good point.
Just bringing that up. And then my question, what impact do you think the Alpharetta recent approval of the continuum on the south side of Windward will have on the development plans in the areas you presented?
Most of the developers that we are approached by are coming to us with plans very similar to Continuum. I believe Continuum has 240 residential units as a part of that development. So we are seeing that mixed use, vertically integrated development. What we're hearing, just trends at BizNow and from our partners across the state, is that residential component is what makes the development sustainable for the commercial developers that are coming in. So I think that the continuum, it is reflective on a little bit of a larger scale, but it's similar to what we are seeing and being approached with as well. So I think that Alpharetta being open for that definitely sends a message that that's also the type of development that they're looking for, with a retail component and a residential component, and that seems to mirror what we're seeing as well.
I think at the last meeting I had asked if you could bring any insight of what they did either in that situation or in other situations to attract investments such as that into Alpharetta or even some of the surrounding communities, and what similar efforts are we undertaking?
So I did reach out to Lance Marcel and Kathy Cook in the Economic Development Arm in Alpharetta to find out more. I was told that they're happy to send me over additional materials that I can share with you all, but what they did tell me is tax abatements and speed to market was their strategy on that. So anywhere that they can reduce those impact fees and permit fees, that was their strategy. Right now, Alpharetta is really targeting life science companies. As you know, they're connected city going after those tech companies and those life science companies. So that fit well within their portfolio, and they had a lot of abatements that they could offer.
I agree. I think that was, I mean, given the economic conditions with, supposedly the impending recession or everything, I think we'll have to be as aggressive or more aggressive than we ever have been to get some of that.
I think Alpharetta's move on the North Point, a major decision. Not having 800 some high-priced apartments.
Thank you.
So this is just a quick update. As I mentioned earlier, our consultant is going to present the district at Mayfield. They're going to flesh out more the details, the concept plan, and things like that. But for an update, district at Mayfield, what we're going to do is to create a small area plan. The project scope includes reviewing the current code, and that's the Crabapple form-based code, and issues with development pattern in that district. We will develop a concept plan that will show land uses, street layout, designated parking areas, green spaces, architecture style, to name a few. And lastly, we will identify any adjustments needed with the Crabapple form-based code and develop text to update regulations on that. And I just want to show you quickly the project phases. We are now in the project development stage. And after the presentation in this first week of December, we'll start with data collection and analysis. And then, of course, we'll do a lot of public engagement before we develop the small area plan. And that's for, of course, adoption. And after that, we will revisit our form-based code in Crabapple, make some changes that are needed, and then after that, we'll do the text amendment process for the form-based code. And I think that's all I have for Mayfield District. Again, if you're available, December 5th, our consultant will be there to present this project.
Question? Can you give us some background on this plan as to what are we trying to achieve? What started it?
I think I'll defer that question to Bob because I'm not involved in the Shuba, who is our planner for this, assigned for this project, is not here, but I would be glad to relay this to her, and then she can come next month for the next planning commission to explain more the details of this project.
Unless Bob wants to answer it. Hi, Bob.
Yes,
We've
good
missed
evening.
you.
I think what started it, I think there was some interest in looking at how the current development pattern of Crabapple has been progressing. And they started to look at that particular quadrant. So we looked at Crabapple in 4 quadrants. So that particular quadrant had some historic structures that are not legally registered as historic structures. Some people just say there's a difference between old structures and historic structures. But they started to look at it and they said, geez, maybe we can put a little bit more attention and development time into seeing, how we should be looking at that. Maybe that quadrant should have a smaller, lower scale. Instead of a 3-story scale, maybe we limit it to a 1-story scale and try to have it a little smaller. Now, I will tell the Planning Commission, there's no secret here that one developer has been very aggressive in trying to acquire a lot of that property. He's not the only developer or landowner in that outlying district. So it's not just one landowner. But there is some, developer who's out there trying to amass a lot of that property. So to really look at how that development pattern would occur in that quadrant, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to end up. We got to really look at it. I don't think there's any preconceived notions of, what we should be steering towards. I think that's why we hired this consultant to do an initial analysis of the area, kind of show everybody, including Planning Commission, what's there now, and then to kind of do a brief update on what the current code could allow to see. So we do have, we did recently, first we did the master plan, and then a couple of years later, we updated the master plan to show how it would look. And I think we've been pretty true to the master plan. It's looking, I'll come back as part of this project and show you the original master plan, the updated master plan, and how things really are getting built out. So we sort of have to look at that, and we'll get some more feedback from some stakeholders and from Planning Commission and see really where we can go with this. I'm not going to say where I think that charge needs to be. I'm kind of a little curious on seeing how we analyze that and propose potential redevelopment patterns there. But the council seemed to be interested in it. There was a unanimous vote to put a moratorium in that quadrant and to define that district and to have staff do additional studies. It wasn't part of the comprehensive plan. It wasn't discussed in CPAC, so it's an additional area plan. So the council gave us some additional funds to actually go out and hire a consultant to help staff, assist staff in doing it. Most of the CPAC and comp plan work program staff has been doing in-house. We are going through them. You see the summary. I think we've been doing pretty good with some of them. We've been really working through them and getting them in, and we haven't really had a whole lot of outside consultant help. Consultants are good, but the way we've been treating consultants, even this consultant that we're going to hire, is we're going to try to basically direct much more closely the consultants' energy and efforts into what we're looking for. But with Mayfield, I think we're just going to have to, I'd like a little bit more additional time to kind of first do an analysis of what's there and look at it and to see how it's contextually fitting in with what's built, because the other quadrants sort of built out faster. And that quadrant's taking a little bit longer. But we have some good elements in that quadrant. We worked really hard with the county when they wanted to do a new library, and they said they were going to put it here in Milton, in downtown Crabapple. And initially, they just gave us their pre-designed library, and we really worked hard with the county, and they didn't have to listen to us, but we said, look, we're in a form-based code. We really want a specific look. So when I worked with them on that, the theory behind that building was 2 barns and a silo. So we put 2 barns, if you look at them, and then a silo. And then there was a big old growth tree that we were on the cover of Shade magazine for. And we said we really wanted to maintain that tree, and we did. So we really worked with that. We also started to work with the new medical centers that just recently got developed, and those are actually sponsored through Northside Hospital. So we really worked hard to kind of keep that scale a little bit lower next to those residential areas, because it's abutting all those residential areas. Across the street, it's not in the district, but across the street, John Gaston's coming up with new buildings. He's done one, and now he's come in with a sister building. And then on the corner, we have a new corporate building that just went in front of DRB. It's all corporate offices. It was very nice, 15,000 square foot with a parking structure. Years ago, people looked at me and said, Bob, this is Milton. Nobody will ever use a parking structure. And why do you even want to utilize one? Because the city initially came to me and said, council said, should we fund and build our own parking structure? And we did hire an outside consultant to help us with that. Pricing came out super, super high. The maintenance is even worse than the initial construction. To maintain a parking structure was huge. And we started to look at tax districts and should we charge for parking? And everybody said, well, nobody's going to use it. And I talked to all the developers in the area and said, listen, we really need parking structures. I want them surrounded by development so you don't see them from the roadways. And I need you all as the developers to actually fund, construct, and maintain them, because the city just doesn't have those kind of resources. So that's just what they did. And now if you go to the one that Anna Morgan just built, which is up and running, I went there the other day so I can go to Nest, and I couldn't even find a parking spot. It was filled up. So it's, and that development, that whole development is just starting to fill up. Anita will tell you, we've been doing grand openings there like crazy with all the new businesses. And so they're just starting to open. So we're really, when this board looks at me and says, what about parking? What about parking? What about, like when we did the event facility there for work, and everybody kept saying, what about parking? What about parking? It is important because the parking is filling up. We always sort of, we'd like you to be able to park somewhere and then just be able to walk. So now with the new quadrant, with the Mayfield district, we got to kind of look at that and really see how that's is going to come about. Do we save those historic structures? Do we incorporate them into the design? Do we, do we lower the scale? I'm not exactly sure how that's going to end up. I'm going to work through that one. I'd like to work through it. I guess I don't have any preconceived vision of how that's going to look, like we did with the master vision. We really sort of looked at everything. So I can show you what the original master plan contemplated for that area. So I guess what we're going to do with this developer, this consultant, is to come in, show you what originally we planned, and then what's currently there, and then show you how the land has been amassed and how it's been acquired, so that we get a better look at, what we can do with it. It's going to be a process.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Hello, welcome.
I want to sort of introduce this next section as sort of a reminder. Earlier this year, Emily Schnari, who was with us, joined our GIS department. In fact, ComDev didn't have a presence in GIS, and there was something missing because ComDev looked at a ton of plans that come through, and until we adopted and launched CityView, that was all by hand, and all submittals were in paper. So we were in a sea of paper over there, and it was hard to really get a grasp, a visual of where these projects were within Milton. When Emily joined the GIS department, that all changed. CityView came in, submittals began coming in digitally, and we're really proud of how that has evolved. Now, there's been, some speed bumps along the way, and we continue to work through some challenges, but I think I can speak for the whole department that we're super excited to see where that digital footprint is going over in ComDev. And having Emily in our GIS department has been huge help. she's been able to sort of bring to life graphically where our projects are within the city. So I'm not sure that she and I have had an opportunity to introduce or to sort of showcase this private development internet or sort of platform that she's helped put together. But we did present it to council, and so we wanted to just make you aware of it tonight. Some of you may have seen it. It lives on our website. It's available through to everyone. But it was a way for us to capture our active private developments within Milton. And so we're proud of it. So if you will indulge us, we want to show it off just a little bit, okay?
That'd be great.
So the thought behind this was really if someone's driving down the road and sees a development going on, they might have some questions about it. So this is really our answer to what is going on here in Milton. And instead of, calling us, maybe they could check out the website and see what is actually going on. So on here, this is an interactive web page on our website that has a map on the right-hand side with pins and outlines of all of the parcels that are currently active private development projects.
Correct.
So Tracy kind of knows the status of a lot of these projects, so she's going to kind of take you through some of this.
We are. We're going to run through it and then just kind of give a brief update. But I think you'll see the interactive use of this. So our first development is Homestead that we're showcasing. On the right-hand side, it identifies sort of the outline of that project. You're able to scroll and zoom in on the right-hand side to sort of see where that is within Milton. On the left-hand side, we have site plans and graphics, even site photos, site videos that applicants have provided to us that users can review, look, really engage to see what the proposal is, where the activity is going on. And then below, we also have a snapshot, a brief summary of what that development entails. Each of the projects will also have a site plan so that anyone can click on the site plan to have an enlarged view of what's been proposed. I want to give a brief update on Homestead. We actually had a project meeting, a meeting today with the project team. And if you drive by, you'll see that they've really got a lot of energy focused on the front entrance. Columns are being installed, constructed right now. They've brought some pretty massive plant material in, 4-inch trees. They look great. They're working on the mail kiosk. There's a lot of focus up front. So they're continuing to move forward. We're excited about their timeline. We'll continue to sort of help them move things along. So we're excited about that project. The next project we've got is Claxton subdivision. So actually just across the street, you will notice on the right-hand side that Homestead's on the right. Claxton's right across the street, sort of on the northern side on the left. That project, they have begun horizontal work, LDP work on that project. And so we'll be excited to see that develop. That's going to be 12 single-family homes. It's on just under 18 acres. So you'll see a lot of activity there.
So that's an example of one of the preliminary plats you saw. So
That is
the
one.
Homestead was a large lot that was considered a minor plat. The Claxton was a preliminary plat that you all saw.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. The next is Deerfield Dentistry. And Deerfield Dentistry is at the corner of Windward and Cogburn, and it's moving right along. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to drive by that. There's a lot of activity over there. A 2-story dentistry office. Again, the site plan, a location plan, and sort of the site map. It's just a great interactive tool so that you can get familiar with what the project is proposing. The next is Town Center East. This is back over at the roundabout at the library. Bob recently touched on the fact that Gaston is bringing in another building on the other side. So we will highlight that as that comes in. Market District at Crabapple, we're all familiar with that. They continue to do activity and construction on that site. Milton Point at Broadwell is just down from the Broadwell Pavilion. They've actually have begun the second building in the back. So they're moving along. There's a lot of energy on that site. Fire Station 42. Fire Station 42 is moving along. We did a site visit today. They're actually putting the roof on top today, and they're making a lot of progress. They're going to be sort of driving home before the holidays to get some other construction elements done so they can begin some inspection processes, but that continues to move along. Towards the Baby Publix Birmingham Crossroads office building. This is completed. They continue to do the residential component in the back. They continue to, actually, I believe they're starting on one of the single-family 1-acre lots in the back.
So I just, obviously, that southeast development was zoned under Fulton County in 2004. And then it went before council for quite a few modifications to the site plan. And so that, and then it did not come, rezonings do not come to you for a preliminary plat because it's typically, in this case, you didn't see the rezoning because it's so old, but that's why you didn't see a subdivision come before you, because it was under the auspices of a rezoning. So just wanted to give you that input. So
here we've got Whisper Woods. There are actually 2 developments under construction right now. The LDP work that flanks either side of the roundabout at Birmingham and Providence. The first one, Whisper Woods, which is located on the left. And it's 5 single-family homes. It's just under 7 acres. And they've begun LDP work there. I'm sure all of you have seen that activity. Likewise, on the east side is Providence Point. It again is 5 single-family homes on about the same size, of just under 7 acres. And so that activity has started, and they've done some clearing and some grading. They're putting their infrastructure in.
Tracy, on that one, I drove by it today and I was quite surprised because I could see all the way from the road, all the way to the back. Did they not need to preserve a 40-foot rural view shed, or are they planning to replant it?
They're planning to replant. So so this is the site plan, the proposed site plan for Providence Point. You will see here that the drive is located behind the 60-foot rural view shed. This line represents the 40-foot setback, and then the additional 20-foot to make up the 60-foot is located along this line. Zoom out. I want to go to the zoom
And
out just
does
a
the
little bit.
rural view shed also extend along Providence or New Providence?
It does, yes.
Okay.
Let's go to the next slide. So we've got grading. We can zoom in here. We've got grading for the proposed drive that still occurs outside or behind the 60-foot rural view shed. Let's go down to New Providence, down this area. Okay, we've got this, and then let's see the landscape plan is next. So you'll see this is a proposed landscape plan that they provided. It does show a lot of planting material back in. You can also see the existing tree line just behind at the back of the 60-foot setback line. That was the existing tree line that was there.
Mhm.
And they've proposed a substantial amount of plant material to go back within that rural view shed. The idea is for the planting to not be so formal, to be more of a massing, a grouping of plant material so that it looks more natural. Unlike some of the neighborhoods that we saw, in the 80s and early 90s, where it was very formal and there was a tree every 30 feet on center and that sort of thing. We try to encourage, we discourage that look and go for a more random, rural, sort of natural look as they plant that, which is why you see so many in different sizes and grouped.
So it will be replanted because it's
certainly it
gone
will.
as of today.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Diving back into the interactive portal, we continue on. This was Millstone Park over in Deerfield. Again, it's just a highlight of the projects that we're working on. There are 3 that are not in here right now that will soon come, that you all have seen. And we've got some pictures of those. One is Crescent Ridge. And I'll ask Robin to speak a little bit about that. That was before my time, Crescent Ridge.
So Crescent Ridge is on the lower part of Hopewell, just north of Commissioner Fred. Yes. So this was zoned in 2013 for y'all, for any of people who weren't here. It was zoned R3A, I believe. And so this is on sanitary sewer. And they are coming in with the exact plan that was approved by City Council and the planning board at the time. So just want to let you know that if you see some trees coming down and grading, and you're like, what in the world is that? I don't remember it. Well, that's because it's a very old development that Tommy Fuqua, who's a local builder, is going to be building in there. So just wanted to let you know about that. So
Where is
it? It's just so just north of Hopewell Place.
Vaughn Road.
Mhm.
From- Left-hand side. A little bit. Northwest.
Yeah, so if you're going north on Hopewell, like from Vaughn Drive, it's on the right.
on the right?
Right,
Okay.
It's on the right, yes. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Close
And
to
it'll
Vaughn.
be connected. There's an existing subdivision that has an entrance and it kind of horseshoes around the other half of the horseshoe. So that's the entrance for that. So, yeah.
There is a location that they also have.
Exactly. There's another
On-
zoning that was
on
done.
that.
Yes,
It
you're
hadn't-
correct.
It
They
didn't come before us.
It did. It was a rezoning. Yep. It was rezoning probably in 2015, 2016.
What is?
Again, Tommy Fuqua. And
I
what,
slept. some-
and you'll see that soon afterwards because they're taking dirt from one side and moving it to the other side. So I think they'll be coming in with their LDP in the next
Good.
6 or 9 months. But again, that was a rezoning. So it was all set. You won't see it as a preliminary plat. Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
The other development that's coming in, so we've done a pre-construction meeting. We're still waiting on one item, which is why we haven't issued the permit, and it's not in our private development interactive portal. That is the property next to Fire Station 42 on Thompson. This is Thompson Oaks. So you will soon see, this will soon be added to the interactive site as well.
And you all saw this as a preliminary plat.
Did see this as a preliminary plat.
Last year?
Probably a couple years ago. It's been a
Okay.
little bit.
Yeah, and we try to update that private development map every month, but we also try to make sure that once the permit has been issued is when we're putting it on the map. That way everything is
Correct.
done and official before we put anything up there.
Which reminds me that there's been a permit almost issued for the daycare facility on Webb, which you all didn't see. It was form-based code, but it's right, used to
That's-
be, I guess we kind of skipped through it. There it is. Did we talk about that or we just skipped through it?
We didn't, well,
So-
right now they are, there was an existing structure on the property that's been demoed. But they anticipate construction to begin early next year. So late January, February is when they're targeting that construction to start.
And I think I heard that fire station at 41 or 43 is moving from Arnold Mill up New Providence. There's a nod back there. So is it closer to Ranchette or closer to Doris? And which side of the road, do you know?
No, it's near the roundabout. New Providence at Birmingham
Actually, just on the
Other
opposite
s-
side of Whisper Woods and Providence Point.
on the south
So
side.
let's go back to the
Yeah, so there's this,
interact. So go back to Providence. Whisper Woods, I'm sorry, yeah. So actually, it will be in this corner here.
Oh, okay. The fire station's going from Arnold Mill in New Providence to there. Okay.
Plan, the thought.
Right now, the city actually owns just a very small part of this. Can you see that cursor? Yeah. So the city really owns a little piece of this, and the balance of it is really owned by GDOT still. So Public Works Department is working with GDOT to get through the process of acquiring the balance of that site. So it's going to take us a little while to do that. But the city is starting to fund Fire Station 45, which would be this one, 45. So the funding is in place. I just can't start on any of the designs or anything until I have the property acquired. So we're just waiting on that acquisition. We'll see what happens with that.
We invite you to come. This is available on the website.
This-
We're keeping it updated. We add site photos, updates of construction photos. We at least update it once a month. For instance, the medical offices on the other side of the library, that was completed. So we took that off. So we're trying to, there's not, we don't have the volume that it's not manageable. But we keep it up to date. We try to add, we encourage you to browse through the site plans, the pictures on the left. It really does tell a good story of what the activity is within.
I think I told you a couple months ago that I'd been there looking. Fantastic. One addition I would make is that as these progress, to the point of where you've got development going and so forth, we need to talk about branding and need to get to the public knowledge, whether it be a newspaper or whatever, to show these things to the growth that's happening.
Sure.
A lot of people, it's not going to go to the computer and look at that. So piece of branding as it is for our communicating to our people.
That's great feedback.
That's also something that me and Anita have been exploring, is different mechanisms for sharing some of the development that we do have going on with the public in a different manner than just this, because there's so many different things that you can do once you have this data. So we're just looking for other places to share that.
Very good.
Yeah, because asking your planning commission member is not the best source.
I mean,
Well, I'll be honest with you. We would not be able to we did not have this advancement this time last year. So I think with the adoption of City View, with the adoption of the online submittal, with the addition of Emily in our GIS, it's been easier to put these things together. So we've accomplished a lot this year. So we're excited to see where we're at this time next year. So
Fantastic.
yeah, I
thank you
agree.
so much.
I think this is very high value. Now it's how do you get traffic there, right? How do you drive traffic to
That's right.
something like this? Because again, it's extremely valuable. Again, branding, it shows you where you are. And having been involved in GIS for the last 30 years, you look at the power of something like this. And then the additional information that's out there that can be coupled with this, like some of the demographics, like, Fred was saying about the age and about the income and about, you start looking at trying to draw corporations, you start looking at being able to very easily access that and show that and pull that up. Again, it makes us, and if we want to attract any technology companies, we need things like this. So very good job.
That's right.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, that's great.
All right, thank you.
So we have distributed the calendar, I believe. You guys have the calendar, just to give it to you so you can approve it next meeting. Just make sure everything looks good to you as far as the dates and everything. And then we're still not done because it's not on the agenda, but I wanted to follow up with what you had requested at the last meeting. Already kind of a summation of what happened with the alcohol ordinance.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much for. Let's make you drink.
Deja vu.
Thank you very much, Robin.
Okay, so. So on October 17th, the mayor and city council made their final decisions and voted on the text amendment for both Chapter 4, but what we're interested in tonight is how it affected Chapter 64, which is obviously zoning. The first couple pages are the use permits that ultimately got approved, which were the retail packaged distilled spirit store, so basically a liquor package store. The required districts are C1 only within Birmingham Crossroads. Overlay district, Crabapple form-based code T5, and then Deerfield form-based code T4 permissive, T5 and T6. And then it's also reflected in the tables for the form-based codes. The next item was the microbrewery, microdistillery use permit. Again, required districts, Crabapple form-based code T4 open, they're allowing, and T5, and then Deerfield form-based code is T5 and T6. The biggest you'll see highlighted is they decided ultimately on not more than 3,000 barrels of malt beverages or distilled spirits in a calendar year may be manufactured. Blah, blah,
Being
blah.
here at that meeting, that was unbelievable amount of time spent on deciding
Yeah.
that number that we sat here and
Yeah, well, and
worked on.
and so that goes to, I think we couldn't help that process. We're happy to discuss. I know that Steve was putting up a lot of what we were saying, and then we're happy to participate and be there to back that up when they have questions. I know, with little forethought, we could have been there to say, oh, here's what that was. A few of us knew that off the top of their heads. Oh, here's why we picked 3,000, barrels, because it kind of went from one meeting to the next to the next. So if there's a way to do a joint session or something like that, we're happy to explain our findings to maybe expedite that process.
Well, I think, just like you all deliberate on many items and it takes a while, I think the council has that a prerogative as well. And I think there was a little bit going back and forth trying to figure out what is the best thing. So I think that's the process that we have, and
Right.
that's how it works. But
If we can provide some of our reasoning behind it up front, it might speed through some of that stuff.
so that's that one. And then there's craft beer and wine market, and you're probably thinking, well, what in the world is that? But basically, if you go to the table, which is page 71 and 72 on, if you remember, we did have a limited discussion about general retail with consumption on premises. So that was at the time Bernadette was trying to come up with an option of a use, because there had always been a craft beer or wine market alcohol permit, but we were trying to come up with a use permit, and you all had unanimously did not want to have that general retail with consumption on premises, i.e. What exists now is New York Butcher Shop, and then the other shop on the north side of Crabapple.
Savvy
It starts with an S, I think. Savvy Provisions. Thank you. I was going to say Savory, but that's over in Alpharetta. So basically, it's that type of shop where you sell beer and wine and also provide either prepared foods. It's the definition is I can get that for you, but basically have on premises food to either eat there or to take away. So ultimately, that's what the council decided to go ahead and utilize that use, and with a use permit. And the required districts would be C1, MIX, and Crabapple form-based code T4, T4 open, and T5. And then Deerfield is T4 permissive, T4 open, T5, and T6. So that's what they voted to do. So obviously, there's still no bars, no nightclubs. And with the brew pub does not require a use permit, and I can walk through that. The brew pub, they voted to allow it by right in T4, T4 open, and T5 in Crabapple. Another item is the retail packaged malt beverage wine store. Again, I believe you all were consistent with what they decided of having it by right in T4, T4 open, and T5. And then again, retail packaged distill store, spirit store use permit in T5. We have especially gift shop, which the definition, we didn't really talk about it a lot, but that definition was in the definitions that you guys reviewed. It was called specialty shop. And then when I did a little bit more investigation, it was really called specialty gift shop. And what that is if you had a gift shop who wanted to include a bottle of wine in the basket that was going to be sold, then that's what that is. It allows that gift shop to be able to sell a bottle of wine or, you know, not liquor, but wine or beer to be part of that package. So that's what that is. So I didn't, it was already in there, but we just, we didn't really talk about it a lot. But it was part of the text amendment. Going on to, obviously we got rid of, and they voted that overall wherever qualified all licenses, uses licensed or permitted under Chapter 4, that was all eliminated. And then microbreweries, microdistilleries, use permit in T4 open and T5. And then getting rid of breweries and distilleries, which that's what you all had looked at as well. In Deerfield, craft beer and or wine market, use permit in T4 permissive, T4 open, T5 and T6. Again, the specialty gift shop by right, pretty much wherever any retail is permitted, T4 through T6. Retail packaged distilled spirit store use permit for T5 and T6. The wine and beer store was by right between from T4 permissive up through T6. The brew pub was voted to be by right within T4, T4 permissive up through T6. And then for the microbreweries, microdistilleries, a use permit under T5 and T6. So I believe that is that. And then obviously the use is prohibited in all zoning districts. The last page was approved as well, just outlining, again, reiterating bar and nightclub not being permitted at all. With that, that is, in a nutshell, I didn't go through all the definitions, but it's online. Or if you, I can send you the link. It's on MuniCode on the front page if you want to look at it in its entirety. So,
But
Robin, in the UDC update in the section 8 on uses, there was a placeholder for, we're holding this, awaiting this.
so it's already been integrated. So if you
Good.
go on the Conveo, you'll see it all in. I did find one mistake in the use table, but that's one of my, but he did it at the very last minute. I mean, literally, we sent it to him like the next day, and then he started integrating it. So the alcohol is included in it. Yeah.
so I think overall, summing all this up, what I asked for, that we as well, everything council followed.
They
Not exactly.
changed a little bit on barrel limits and brew pubs, and then they put back in the
gifts thing.
no, it's more the
The,
New York Butcher and Savvy provisions.
yeah.
They put that back in.
That, and then I think they were a little bit more lenient on allowances in the different transect zones with some of the use permits. So yeah, I mean, overall, yep. Okay, well, that's all I have. I don't think there's anything else on the agenda, but
That's it.
pretty much it.
All right. More than willing to attain a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay. Give it to Fran.
All in
We'll
fa-
give it to.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Great. Thank you, guys.